Yeah, so Allison is going to present this. This is the survey that we did for January and February. So after she presents, it will be included with the agenda packet, and it can also be posted online for citizens to view. So I'll have Allison come up now.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this evening, and I appreciate you guys. The 2025 survey public input analysis, we did this last year. This was we did a little bit more involved process last year. However, this was a survey to somewhat follow that up. And so with this, we devised 8 questions. The survey ran from January 2nd all the way through February, the end of February, with 766 responses. And both were online as well as paper results. And so this is supposed to inform council about what the citizens' desires are, and be able to, formulate that when you start thinking about your budget and capital improvements. So the first question is, of course, who participated, and we wanted to know residents versus business owners, and then who were both. And so the very first one, 667 responses, folks were residents of the town, and then 49 were both, 45 were business operators only. I know there's a lot of visual and words on this slide. I'm going to hit the main points. I know some people are more visual and some people like the written version. But so this really focuses on the importance of what folks felt like was important to the town. And so we ask the takers whether or not they felt like citizen inclusion was a priority. The Facilities Review Committee, Efficiency Task Force, Drug and Homelessness Task Force, Merchants Advisory Committee, and then Street Maintenance Review Committee. And with 64%, they stated, I'm sorry, this 64% of the patrons rated this as 4 or 5, and so Drug Homelessness Task Force was the highest, Street Maintenance, and then I need to read this. I can't read off of that. I'm sorry. And then the remaining categories were split on different levels. So the main takeaways here were Drug and Homelessness Task Force, and then Street Maintenance. And then the next question was about housing. Lowest to highest, highest being 5, rate the importance of the following, and this measured low-income housing versus market rate housing. Over half of response, so 60% of the response, rated that the towns need more market rate housing. And then in response to low-income housing, 57% said that. So it's very close. Independence Day celebration, we asked the citizens when they wanted to celebrate, and the choices were Friday, June 26th, Thursday, July 2nd, Friday, July 3rd, and then Saturday, July 4th. Overwhelming response, 45% of the response said that they wanted to celebrate on Independence Day. And then not included in your packet, but something that I pulled out upon your manager's request is the difference between business owners and residents and what they desire. And business owners, there were 94 responses, and they said that 36% said that Saturday, July 4th was the preference, and then residents said 46% for July 4th. So it was consistent that they wanted to celebrate on July 4th. Friday, I always say this backwards, I'm sorry. Family Friday night schedule. So the focus is when do folks want to hold those events? And so it was once a month, twice a month, or keep it on every Friday night. 68% said that they wanted to keep it the way it has been every Friday night from June to August. And then the location of that celebration, those events, Temple Field, 74% of the response said that they prefer to have it at Temple Field versus Main Street. The Waddington Festival, so if you add September and May together, you get about half, or a little over, but a majority of folks wanted to keep it August. So 47% of the response say they want to continue to have it in August. And then communication. So what is the most effective way that the town communicates with residents? People thought that social media was the best way possible. And then following up, it was the water or the utility newsletter. And then, of course, the website, and then live streaming these meetings. Oh, I'm sorry. Not used to that. So main takeaways of the survey. There were only 8 questions related to this. Majority of the folks that took it were residents. Most important to the residents were the community input, homelessness task force, advice, and street maintenance review. The town is more interested in market rate housing. The 4th of July should be celebrated on the 4th. And then family Friday nights, I did it again, every Friday night, and they wanted it at Temple Field. They wanted to keep the Waddington Festival in August. And the most reliable way to get out information is social media and water bill inserts. Council have any questions?
Thank you. Questions, council? I don't hear any.
Thanks.
Thank you, Alice. Okay, next on the agenda is review and discussion of the April 7th preliminary agenda. And dropping down to number 6 on that agenda, you can see it's consent and what's on there. Dropping to number 7, new business. Public hearing for the rezoning on Dixie Avenue, presented by Ashley, ma'am.
All right, so this is a rezoning request by applicant Mark Morgan and Associates LLC. That's the same that's doing Tron's Place up on Tron Street. So I named it Dixie Avenue Northwest rezoning since that is where the access from this proposed development would be coming off of. The actual address for it is 0 Griffin Avenue, where this property also has access off of that street as well, even though proposed development wouldn't be using that as their access, it would be on Dixie. So the rezoning request is to go from M1 to R8 for the proposed use of a 48-unit between 2 buildings apartment complex. And the intent for this rezoning is that the multifamily units would be then allowed in the R8 district, where they currently wouldn't be allowed in the M1 district. So the complex will consist of 2 3-story apartment buildings with 1, 2, and 3 bedroom units. Access would be provided off Dixie. Amenities would include sidewalks, clubhouse, playground, picnic area, outdoor seating areas, and on-site dumpster recycling. There will be an income limit to those who are renting these. That number is that number was roughly given during planning board by the applicant, though they did mention that at this time financing for that, and that number would be solidified later on in development. They will be participating in the public hearing at the next meeting to be able to ask more questions regarding that directly from them. There was a planning board recommendation of 5-0 approval for the rezoning. It is technically inconsistent with the future land use map, which showed that parcel specifically staying as M1, but it was consistent with other residential priorities adopted by the vision plan, specifically those for diversification of housing options. That's a quick summary of what this is. There will be a little bit more detailed packet in your council report from staff report.
Okay.
So do we have, can I ask a question? Mr. Mayor. So we don't have any income limits that you can give us at this time for this complex for applicants?
So the applicant can talk more on that exactly. What the number was floated during the planning board meeting was it would range between 40 to 80% of the median income of Burke County. The aim was going to be at 60% of that, which a really rough estimate for him. I told him to have a little bit more firmer numbers to be able to provide y'all, but at planning board, he said that was between 38 to 40,000.
Well, what is it that limits the income? What's the controlling factor there?
That will be up to the applicant. We don't have anything in our UDO that regulates as far as income.
Could that be
limits.
because of the way they're financing it?
It could be, or it could be that that is their general business model.
Who was the presenter of that
Mark
request?
Morgan.
I'm sorry?
Mark Morgan.
And what is his business?
He is a developer, he's the same one as Tryon's Place. So doing the
Same one that what?
Tron's Place.
Uh-huh, okay.
Same in that line, so he does a
Right.
lot of the apartment buildings.
His specialty is low-income housing financing. That's what his website says.
From what this area is that I've seen, yeah.
I'm sorry?
From what we've seen so far of his development in this area.
No, that's what his website says. That's his business.
Yeah.
How much, what would the situation be with property taxes on that? Would they be paying full property tax rate?
They wouldn't be bonding with the town in any way. There wouldn't be any kind of cuts or adjustments for them.
Be what? I'm sorry.
They wouldn't be bonding with the town in any way for the development of it.
I'm not talking about
and
bonding. I'm talking about property taxes.
There wouldn't be anything different from it.
They would
It'd
pay
be-
full property tax rate?
From my understanding, yes.
Is that what Tron Place is paying?
That one I'm not sure, because that one has
How
a
about
different.
Pine Crossing?
That one also, I believe, was under some kind of bond agreement, so I'm not sure if that tax rate's the same or not.
I'm sorry. I'm sure it's me, but maybe if you had the mic a little bit closer to me, actually, I'm sorry, I'm just not able to hear you.
Okay.
Okay,
Does that work a little bit better now?
I think so.
All right.
Pine Crossing, what is the property tax deal on it?
I do not know what the property taxes is on that.
Yeah, my concern is, among other things, that we're taking property off the tax rolls and using it for low-income housing. And I listened to the entire recording of your meeting. I did not even hear a motion or the vote. Although this memo we got says it was passed unanimously, was there an actual vote taken at the planning board meeting?
There was, yes.
Okay, I didn't pick up on that, but as you can tell, I always hear everything, so. All right, well, I mean, we're not gonna deal with this tonight, but I think we need a lot more information. We need to know the amount of acreage that's involved, the amount of
Yeah,
property
it's,
taxes. And
50
I know
acres.
what size this site is, but I'm talking about throughout the town. We have on Lydia Avenue, we have a lot of acreage there. We need to know what the property taxes situation is with that. We need to know what it is with Aurora. We need to know what it is with Pine Crossing, Tron Place. If Valdese is not already the low-income housing capital of Western North Carolina, we've got to be a contender.
So basically, you're just wanting to know what the tax rates are currently on all the apartment complexes in town? Is that what you're saying?
I'm sorry.
So you're wanting to know what the current
I'd like,
taxes are
well,
on
just,
those?
I mean, listen, I think we need a lot of data, but a couple pieces of data I feel we need are how much acreage is devoted, how many units, how much acreage, how many units, and what's the property tax situation as far as revenue to the town on all of the low-income housing presently in Valdese. Because what this is adding more low-income housing. And I did hear this, I heard the developer, the financer, say that Valdese can't support market rate housing, that this project made sense because it was low income, and that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The more low-income housing we have in Valdese, the less likely Valdese will ever break out of low-income housing. So that's my concern, but that's only because I listened to the recording that we got. I think maybe we pushed this a little bit too soon. I think the council didn't know anything about this until this weekend when we looked at the agenda packet, and then to think about a hearing at the April meeting. It's kind of rushing it. I think we need a lot more information before we even consider that.
All right, and do keep in mind that as far as the UDO goes, for an ordinance, a town can't be really 100% be like, I'm gonna make 100% judgment on this because of income. You do have to keep in mind that you can think about it, but at the same time, having to keep a broad sense as well on as far as what you can and cannot do based off incomes.
Council, anyone else?
I do know I've received calls already asking what the property will be used for. And I actually got chewed out twice today by people saying, you knew about this and you're letting this come into town. And I said, we have not even had a public hearing yet. So it is something we need. I know the UDO can't be based on that, but if we just changed all that to manufacturing, I don't know why we are looking at changing it again, if that's something, because we were called into the office last year and we had to sit around the table and with the lawyer there and go over everything while we were, we've got the manufacturing district. I'm the home of any future strip clubs that they want to bring to Valdese, so that was kind of, that's how I remember all this, is because that's what they put in my ward. But it's a thing we do need to look at. We do need to get as much information as we can because we have residents already up in arms, and they are not happy that none of the council knew about any of this until, whether it's UDO or the other, that we were not informed until this weekend. Or they feel we did know when we did not know. And that bothers me as a council person, that I'm having to explain I had no idea. I was in the dark about it, so. That's.
Anyone else? That'll be on the agenda. Thank you, Ashley. Okay, item B under 7, approval of contract proposals for engineering services for the Berrytown Waterline Project.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. The Town of Valdese was awarded a Community Development Block Grant from the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality and North Carolina Department of Commerce for waterline improvements in the Berrytown community. Through an advertised request for qualifications process, McGill Associates was selected as the engineering company to present a contract proposal for project services. All payments to McGill Associates will be reimbursed from the grant funds. I do understand that we have received that contract proposal. It is for $423,500, and that is in line with what had been estimated at the time of application.
What was that number again?
$423,500 for the engineering services. That will encompass engineering design, permitting and surveying, for the bidding and award, and also for construction, observation, and administration.
That will go to McGill, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we will have a formal contract to you in advance of the meeting next week.
Yes.
Sounds good. Thank you. That will remain on the agenda for next week. Council, you have any questions? Thank you, sir.
Just to clarify, we'll have a contract before when?
Councilman Harvey, I would expect you will have a contract sometime this week. We have a preliminary draft. I will reach out to McGill tomorrow and have them present a formal contract that will go to myself and Mr. Weichel.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, council item C, approval of budget amendment, water plant filter inspection and rehab.
All right, I'm gonna back up the B real quick. The contract with McGill, we will get that to Attorney Swanson as soon as we get our hands, so he can review. But it'll also be included with the agenda packet, so simultaneously we'll get that going. So it'll be with the agenda packet when next meeting. Okay. All right, item C. So this is actually gonna be an item that's presented by McGill at the next meeting. But just to kind of give you what's going on here, this is a budget amendment at the water plant. The water plant has 6 filters. They're over 25 years old. They're really starting to show their age. So this budget amendment is twofold, really. It's to do some repairs to get the filters to where we can limp by until we get the big water plant project going. And it's also some exploratory and investigative work so that when we go do the design work for the water plant upgrades project, this part will already be done. So that's why it says up to $115,000 budget amendment, because once we get into that exploratory work, we're not sure. It'll probably be less than that, but we're not sure exactly how much we're going to get into as we start digging the filter media out. So that will be something that RJ can expand upon a little bit more. But that's kind of what this is doing. It's fixing the immediate problem we have now and doing some exploratory work in the meantime.
What do you think the timeline is on the upgrade project to initiate that?
Good question. They're still doing design work. This is a piece of it that'll help facilitate that a little quicker. In addition to talking about this project, since McGill's going to be here, they're going to give an update on the actual water plant upgrades project itself too. So I'm going to kind of hit both at the same time here.
Okay, council, any questions? Item C will remain on the agenda. Item D, approval of resolution accepting the 2024 local water supply approved plan.
So this is an annual resolution that we do. It may look familiar because we did it about 7 months ago, I think. We were actually late last year, and now we're right on track for this year. So this is a local water supply plan that the NCDEQ reviews, and so they've done their review, they've approved it, and now all it takes is for a resolution by council to accept that review, and then we file that with the state, so it's on file with them. So it's just an annual thing that we do every year.
Okay, can that go under consent?
It can, yeah.
Council, any questions?
Get a consent on that.
Consent, thank you, ma'am. Item E, approval of capital project ordinance amendment for the pool structure.
So at last month's meeting, council decided to move forward with the dome structure for the pool. So in order to get that project going, we gotta do an amendment to the ordinance for this funding. So this budget amendment will cover the dome structure itself, the installation, the ADA contract with Houck to do that work, the site work with Moss Marlowe that was approved at the last meeting, and then some type of storage solution. We haven't quite got that nailed down yet, but some type of storage solution to keep that dome secure on site. So that's what this budget amendment's doing. It's hitting, we've got everything in line now, it's just tying up all the finances and getting that in line.
Okay. Council, questions?
I'd just like to see, at our next meeting would be fine, the numbers that add up to the 767,308, just the breakdown of that. You don't need to go through that now, but if we could have that in the agenda packet, that would be helpful, I think.
Okay, I can do that. Yeah, I've got them in my spreadsheet, but I'll give them to you.
Okay, they'll remain on the agenda. Item F, approval of resolution authorizing upset bid process for the sale of town-owned property located at 341 Rotary Street North.
Okay, so at the next meeting, I'll have a map and overview of this, but this is a offer on this property, and so as part of the process goes, we'd have to adopt a resolution for the upset bid process. Then we advertise for 10 days, and then if no upset bids are received, the town can proceed forward with considering a resolution to actually sell that property. So if there are no upset bids, theoretically, we would have a resolution for sale at the May meeting.
Okay. Questions, council?
What's the size of that parcel?
It's 0.82 acres.
Okay. I don't know if anybody else had this problem. I haven't been able to get on BurkeGIS all weekend or all day today. I tried up until about 4 o'clock today.
I can't get on there either. I don't know if it's
Is
down.
it at the end of Road Route where the street ends and then you go?
Right.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, and I'll have a map for you at the next, but it's at the end of that street. So the appraised value per the GIS was 7,697, and the offer on this is 7,500.
Once more, the appraised value is how much?
7697.
7,006.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Any more questions, council? Remain on the agenda. Item G, approval of resolution authorizing upset bid process for the sale of town-owned property located at 800 Pineborough Avenue Southeast.
All right, so same thing here, another offer to sell. This is a much larger parcel. This is the first offer we've gotten on this property. 134,490 is the offer, and that's matches what the tax value is on that. So if you recall, it's 14.91 acres, but because of the Duke Energy right away for their power lines portion, that's not really usable with staying off those power lines. But this will be a resolution for the upset bid process again. And just a reminder, if there are no upset bids, council still has the option of deciding not to sell it. So it doesn't hurt anything to go through that process.
Can you tell us who made that offer? Would that be part of the agenda packet?
Would be okay? It is in a resolution, yeah, okay. Yeah, it'll be a part of the resolution.
But we can't know until we see the resolution?
I could tell you, but honestly, I don't remember who it is. I don't remember the name of the company. It's not a particular individual, it's a investment, a real estate investment.
Would this be another investment that puts together low-income housing? Is that what we're looking at
I
again?
don't think it's low-income housing, so I'm glad you brought this up, actually. It
Yeah,
reminded me.
that's the question of the
Yeah.
day here.
So, as a part of this, if the council decides to sell this property, it's a contingency on that, they'll have to get a special use permit for this property. So the special use permit being passed is a contingent on them actually buying the property. I think the intent is for them to build some townhomes, and I was told it was market rate, so it wouldn't be low-income housing like we've been talking about. So it'd be market rate townhomes or condos on that property.
So townhomes or condos, that would be something that's sold. That would be in the category of affordable housing, I assume. Market rate
It'd be market rate, yeah. It wouldn't be
Market rate
low
housing,
income.
okay.
Yeah.
which we keep hearing people say Valdese needs more of. You can't find homes for sale in Valdese for $200,000 to $300,000. So this might be that type of home.
Yeah, yeah.
That would kind of fit with the priorities that citizens have ranked here, wouldn't it?
That's correct, yep.
Anyone else? Stay on the agenda, please, ma'am. Item H, fiscal year 24-25 year-to-date financial results. Mr. Wyker.
Okay, so like we've done in the past, this will have the financial statements for the general fund and utility fund. I'll also have a statement showing the tax collection that we're currently at. And then we're also going to show a statement showing where our invested funds are, so they all can see that. I'll kind of hit on the highlights next week, but that's what we're on there. And this will be for 67% of the year, so through the end of February.
Any questions?
So that would be results through February, which is 8 months, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we'll have the complete year-to-date package in the agenda packet like we have.
Yes.
Okay.
Item I, status of ongoing or approved projects.
All right, public safety buildings update. So, looking at the project timeline, there was, the review panel did a scoring matrix, and that scoring matrix will be included with the agenda packet. But based on that scoring matrix, there was 3 firms that were selected for interviews, 3 top firms. Those interviews took place on March 27th, so last Thursday. The process is still on track for making a recommendation to council at the May meeting, pending that the contractor can get us a contract and let Attorney Swanson review it, and then get it, go have that back and forth until we have something finalized. I guess, is this a timeline the council wants to stick with is the question here. So I think that's something we only have to talk about and look at. But that's kind of where we're at on this end of things for that project.
Questions?
Well, as council members know, I have a number of concerns about this process. The entire selection up to this point in time was done in total darkness to the council. We've seen now, since I raised the issue, we have seen a matrix of scoring that was done by 6 people. That's a little bit troublesome for 2 or 3 reasons, which I don't need to go into detail on, but it's troublesome. And then turns out that 4 of the 6 evaluators were present, but the 2 who, I think there were 3 evaluators who have actually hired general contractors, multi-million-dollar, been in charge of multi-million-dollar projects. I think there were 3. 2 of them were not involved with the interviews at all. That's a concern. So we need some kind of a process where the council can get to see these finalists, which is another concern, the way the rating was set up. There are 4 that were rated very close, and just a little bit of a number change by one evaluator would have changed the order. That was not a statistically sound way to narrow 7 down to 3. I don't think there was any hard and fast rule that only 3 could be interviewed. I don't know, I've never worked with any general contractors in this part of the state. I don't know, I don't have any contact with any of those contractors. In fact, I never even heard of most of them, except one has done a lot of work for the town. I'm aware of that. But we need, the council, that's gonna be, next to hiring the manager, this is the biggest decision this council's gonna make. Because we're talking about a public safety facility, the one that we just canceled was running $12 to $13 million. We don't know where this one's gonna go, but it's multi-million dollars. It's a big project. It's the biggest thing that the town has ever undertaken. It's gonna require financing of hopefully some grants, but no doubt a lot of long-term debt. It's a big decision of what general contractor we're gonna give the privilege to doing the design build. And I think we've gotta come up, we can't resolve it here, but we've gotta come up with a way to get this council involved, even if it's interviewing the top 4 firms. I don't know what the process needs to be, but where we are now is not good to my mind.
And I'll look for the rest of the council's direction on how we want to proceed with that.
My thoughts are, we gave you the task to take care of this, to establish the committee, which the committee appeared to have good people on it. And with all due respect, Mr. Harvey, you advised you didn't want anything to do with it.
No,
I'm not throwing, yeah, you didn't want to participate on the committee.
That's right.
what you advised.
that's right.
Okay. So.
But I never abrogated the council's responsibility.
No, I didn't implicate that. My thoughts are, you were given the task, you put the committee together, and I have no problem with us sitting through a program or a presentation, would probably be a better word, from the 3 finalists. That way council would be informed of what your committee knows. If that's something council wants to do.
Yeah, I think we need to know, however we decide to do it as a council, we need to know what's going on.
So how do you want to do it?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
Okay, I'll propose this, a presentation by the 3 finalists made to council.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would suggest it before.
What's your recommendation, sir?
I mean, there's no hard, fast rule how many you gotta do. The top 3 have been notified that they're finalists for interviews. The other 4 have been notified that they did not make it to that level. I could go back to that 4th one and let them know, but that's kind of where we're at as far as communication with them right now. The top 3 are pretty solid choices, but,
If you chose top 3 and they're solid choices, my recommendation is to interview those top 3, or for them to make a presentation to council.
so I imagine we do this all at one time, all in one session.
Yes.
So it'd make
Yes.
for a long day, but presentations are an hour long. It's a half-hour presentation and then a half-hour Q&A. So it gives you guys chances to ask questions.
If I can interject, I concur with Mayor Watts that we task you with this project with the parameters, and I think you followed it. From what I can see in here, it seems like it was followed, and I think if you've already notified the 3 and the other 4, then I agree that we go with those 3 with the presentation from them and proceed from there. And we will have heard what everybody else heard.
I'm fine with reviewing 3. I mean, it's, like I said, I don't know any of them. But I do know that there was some problems with a couple of evaluators that may have affected the results. But that's water over the dam. The council abrogated the responsibility of choosing the evaluators to the interim manager. He did the best he could. We're fortunate that we have 3, I assume, good companies that are interested in taking this on, so let's meet them and ask ask them some questions ourselves, and I'd especially like to have the two local executives who were not involved in the reviews, like to have their input. Maybe they could even somehow sit in on the review that the council would do with those final three.
Sure. And it'll be, because all council's involved, it'll be a public meeting, so, but I'll definitely let them know that if, since they couldn't make the first round, if they can make the second round, so.
And we'll work on scheduling that. We've got quite a few things already on the schedule. I do not recommend we schedule anything else during Holy Week, the week of April 14th.
Okay.
We've already got 2 budget meetings that week as is, so we'll work on the schedule. Thank you and your committee for what you've done. I think you've done a fine job. Water plant upgrade.
RJ's gonna hit on that with
Yeah,
the.
Yeah,
budget
we already
number.
touched
Yep.
on that one.
Yep.
So let's do the town manager search process. I think y'all are aware we're going into a closed meeting to discuss that here shortly. Okay. Item J, lap funding discussion. Mr. Harvey, I believe that's you, sir.
Oh, yes. I guess I did ask to put that on there, thank you. The last year, there was $3.5 million available for what's called lap funding, but it's basically federal funds that's allocated to the Greater Metropolitan Hickory Organization, which is 44 counties. 4 counties that go west of here. 3, Burke plus 3 west of here. Primarily for pedestrian-type improvements, not maintenance, but new improvements. We had a proposal submitted last year, an application submitted for $3.6 million, which did not get accepted. A piece of it did, but this council unanimously chose not to touch that one. And at the last meeting, we voted to return those funds to the Greater Hickory Metropolitan Organization. And so this year, there's the original $3.5 million that they had available, plus the 1.1 that we released to them. So there's $4.6 million available for funding of pedestrian-type activities. Mr. Weichel has talked with the COG staff who administer that program, so his details be a little fresher than mine, but basically, you can use it for sidewalk things, for bicycle things, although we've been told that the funding sources are getting cool about bicycles, I guess because bicycles are not as popular now as they used to be. Traffic signals for intersections, if it's a dangerous intersection. So, you know, there's, and I've pointed out to the council and Mr. Weichel has pointed out, there are a couple of downtown side streets in the downtown loop that do not have sidewalks, like from Roderick Street here at the corner of the town hall up to the rec center. Not to the rec center, but to Carolina Avenue. There's a sidewalk on up to rec center, but there's not a sidewalk from Roderick to, and I'm probably not pronouncing it correctly, but there's not a sidewalk from here to Carolina Street. Also on Laurel Street East, which is the way you get to the rec center from Main Street, there's one section there from Main Street to Saint Germain that does not have a sidewalk. So if those 2 sidewalks were in place, then this, at least the south side of Main Street for a couple blocks would be completely integral with sidewalks for pedestrian traffic. So that's a couple possibilities. It's takes some staff effort to put together the applications. There's some little bit of design work that's required. And I think with that, it would be back to our interim manager to pick it up if we're gonna do something with it. The deadline is, let's see, the applications are, they could be turned in from March 26th, which was a few days ago, through May 2nd. So we have basically a month to act on this.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, we'll leave that on the agenda, please, ma'am. Item 8, interim manager's report, and we can do all that Monday, I believe. Going back to the pre-agenda, under item 5, closed session. This time I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6 to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of an individual public officer or employee.
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying yes.
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 So be it. We'll be going into closed session.